Exam Scholar, Real Estate Edition.
Question 1. The following could be used by the buyer as earnest money deposit in purchasing real property. A. A promissory note secured by a deed of trust. B. A post-dated check. C. An unsecured promissory note. D. All of the above. Answer: D. This deposit can be in any form but must be disclosed to the seller prior to the seller accepting the offer. Question 2. All of the following are required of a real property security dealer, except A. A real estate broker's license. B. The issuance of a real property security dealer's statement to each person purchasing a real property security. C. File and maintain with the Commission a $5,000 bond. D. Post an additional $5,000 bond for each series transactions involving a real property security. Answer: C. Only one bond is required. An additional permit is required for each series of transactions. Question 3. Seller Abel, the owner of Blackacre, lists the property for sale with broker Baker. Abel fails to authorize the agent to accept the deposit on his behalf. Buyer Charlie makes an offer on Blackacre and gives broker Baker a check for $5,000 as a deposit. Under these circumstances, broker Baker A. Can accept the check if he immediately gives it to seller Abel. B. Can accept the deposit an agent for the buyer Charlie and place the monies in the broker's trust fund. C. Cannot accept the deposit because of the wording of the listing agreement. D. None of the above. Answer: B. The owner did not authorize the broker to accept a deposit on his behalf. The law of agency demands an agent to accept all offers unless specifically instructed by his principal not to do so. Under these circumstances, the broker should take the offer. However, he would accept the deposit at the agent of the offeror, and hold the deposit as the agent of the buyer. Question 4. Which of the following is real property? A. Stock in a mutual water company. B. Fruit on trees already sold by contract. C. Minerals or gas removed from the ground. D. Crops before harvest. Answer: Stock in a mutual water company is an appurtenance. Each share is considered to be appurtenant to a specific piece of real property and cannot be sold separately. An appurtenance is defined as real property. Question 5. Using a note as a deposit from a buyer in making an offer. A. The note must be cashed before opening escrow. B. A note cannot be used as a deposit for an offer. C. The note would be the same as cash. D. The agent should inform the seller that the deposit is in the form of a note before the seller accepts the offer. Answer: D. A licensee may accept a note from a buyer as a deposit, other in the form of a deposit given by builders. The licensee must then inform the seller that the deposit is a note before the seller accepts the offer. Question 6. Richard Rock, a new real estate salesperson, made strong efforts to obtain listings in an unintegrated community. He found success by insinuating to property owners that should minorities move into the area, the value of their homes would increase. Which of the following terms best describes the activities of salesperson Rock? A. Steering. B. Panic peddling. C. Blockbusting. D. Both 1 and 3. Answer: D. Such activity is described as both panic peddling and blockbusting. Question 7. Which of the following will be found in the Federal Fair Housing Law? A. A provision that real estate licensees should not discriminate in the sale of any real estate. B. A code of ethics which requires all real estate brokers to follow the Golden Rule. C. A provision which allows for mortgage subsidy insurance in government loans. D. A provision which allows all prospective buyers to be given the same opportunity to select available houses in their price range without restrictions because of race, color, religion, or national origin. Answer: D. The Federal Fair Housing Law applies to residential property and prohibits discrimination on the basis of color, race, religion, or national origin. Question 8. A real estate broker advertises that if a buyer buys from him or a seller lists with him, he will pay the party $50 from the fee or commission he receives from the transaction. The broker A. Can do this. B. Cannot do this as it is a violation of the Business and Professional Code number 10176. C. Can credit the buyer's escrow account with $50 but he could not compensate the seller. D. Can give a rebate of commission to the seller, but he cannot pay the $50 to the buyer. Answer: A. This constitutes a finder's fee which may be paid to unlicensed person as long as the fee remains a finder's fee. A finder's fee is payable when the person has no negotiations in the transaction whatsoever, he just tells you of the prospect. You need a real estate license if you act as an agent. There is no license required to act as a finder. A finder does not represent anyone, they merely tell a licensed agent about prospects. He does not enter into the negotiations. Question 9. The law which governs the distribution of property after a dissolution of marriage is contained in the A. Code of Civil Procedure. B. Civil Code. C. Business and Professions Code. D. Commissioner's Rules and Regulations. Answer: B. The law which governs the distribution of property after a dissolution of marriage is contained in the Civil Code. Question 10. The distinguishing characteristic of a real estate option when compared to a conventional contract of sale is its A. Lack of mutuality and obligation. B. Irrevocability. C. Mutuality of contract. D. Both 1 and 2. Answer: A. Only one party is bound by the contract in a real estate option. The optionee has the right to either purchase or not purchase.
Exam Scholar, Real Estate Edition.